So, I've been on this emotional intelligence journey for coming up 6 years now as a parent, as a wife, and just as a person. And honestly, let me tell you, I have learned so much. I've also spent thousands on my training, on courses, on developing further areas and accreditations in the field. Like, it's a lot, right? Here's the thing though, some of these lessons that I learned, I did so the hard way. And like I said, it's taken me years of full-time growth and learning. I mean, I've loved it, but wow, intense. So I'm here to save you all time and, to be honest, all the headaches and the pain and the heartache of figuring it out the long way like I did. I've distilled so much information and growth into today's conversation specifically. I'm going to share some of probably the biggest shifts I've made, what I don't stress about anymore, the arguments that I don't waste energy on, the conflicts that I just don't have anymore, and really how I see my kids and my husband in a completely different way now. These changes have made my life so much easier, and trust me, they will make a massive difference for you too. Plus, if you're busy and short on time, like most of us are, then stick around to the end because I've created something for you that's going to help you dive into emotional intelligence without adding more to your plate. Welcome back to the Emotionally Intelligent Parenting Podcast. You know me, I'm your host, Stephanie Pinto. I love all things emotional intelligence, especially for people who are living with or raising or working with kids. So if that sounds like you, if you're a parent or a teacher or a therapist or a health professional, then you're in the right place. Before we begin, as always, I want to acknowledge the Darug Nation. They are the traditional custodians of the land on which I live, work, and record this podcast. I pay my respects to all First Nations people, their elders, and their ancestors, and I acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded, and I stand in solidarity towards a shared future. All right, let's get into it. So I have made a list of about 5 kind of topics or areas of things that I have specifically for me known and realized that these were like game-changing lessons for me as a result of my journey into emotional intelligence. And not that I am the exact same as you and that we have the same life and, you'll find the same kind of, lessons out of this than as me. But I do know that most often the people that I work with and the people that I coach and the people that take my programs, they tend to be kind of like me, but like a few years ago, like 4 or 5 years ago. So I don't know if that makes sense. It's almost like they're at the starting of their emotional intelligence journey, particularly as parents. And not that I'm like this guru or anything, but that I'm a few years in and I've done so much learning and training, like I mentioned in the intro. So anyway, I love lists as well. My best friend Jess knows that I'm like a list maker and I will make lists for anything and everything. I love to-do lists. So my first one is things that I no longer stress or worry about. I think sometimes we stress over things that we just do not need to, and we worry about things that don't even end up happening or that other person isn't even really thinking about anymore. So I don't know if that resonates with you, but that was my story. I actually have point 2, which is about my anxiety. So I'll tell you guys about that next, but let's just stick with the things that I no longer worry about or stress over. So I've been able to let go of a whole bucket load of perfectionism in my parenting, but also in my marriage as well. Because, okay, so get this. This was like a penny drop moment for me. I have learned that perfectionism is about control and control is about anxiety. Maybe I should rephrase that a little bit. I'll kind of repeat it. Perfectionism is about control. Control is underpinned by anxiety. I used to feel like everything had to be just so, or had to be the right way, or had to be like good enough. And if it wasn't, then things weren't going to be okay. Something bad would happen. People would think I was lazy or dumb or didn't know what I was talking about. Just all of those limiting beliefs, right? So now that I have realized perfectionism is really about our need to control a situation or an environment, it might be like with your home and how tidy it is. Oh my God, like I realized that, and just like some of the work I did around understanding why perfectionism is such a thing for particularly so many mums, that allowed me to actually start making some changes where I could do things that were not perfect. I could leave things like partly not done, or, you know, like the dishes in the sink without stressing over them and things like that. I didn't have to find, this sounds so silly, like matching socks every day. I'd be like, well, no one sees them anyway. They're under my shoes, and I don't have to sort through my drawer and go off finding the other matching pink one for 5 minutes. Like, what a waste of time. Anyway, so little things, little steps I began with. So perfectionism is about control, and what's underneath that is the anxiety of, but if I don't do this the certain way or the perfect way, then that's not okay. Or that will mean I'm bad, or I'm lazy, or I'm not good enough, and so on. I also do not sweat the small stuff anymore. Like, I'm just going to insert a disclaimer here that goes across the whole episode. I am not perfect at this. Oh, there we go. I'm talking about perfectionism. I'm not perfect with any of these. So if you meet me on any one day, if I'm having a bad day, maybe I will be sweating the small stuff. But on the whole, I do not sweat the tiny little minor issues, like messes, like little tantrums or little minor disagreements and things like that. I'm just going to lean down to my left. If you guys are watching on YouTube, you'll see what I'm about to grab. It is this painting. I'm going to hold it up. Several weeks ago, it might even be a couple of weeks ago. Can you see this painting? This is one that I did. It's a picture of my dog, Pepper, who's now passed away. And a few months ago, I went to a paint and sip with my neighbor. We each painted our dogs. And can you, like, if you're again watching on YouTube, you'll see it's a beautiful picture of Pepper. She was a German Shepherd cross border collie. Beautiful black fluffy dog with a little bit of white. And unfortunately, my youngest was drawing near this painting. Like, I just propped it up on the floor because I hadn't hung it yet. And she had these gel pens, which, as you can see, but I'll describe to you if you're listening on the podcast, 3 giant splashes right across the top half and her head, like the clear as day, because they're fluoro gel pens. I would have erupted a few years ago. I would have been like, how could you be so stupid? Like, you know, get that off right now. You fix it. And how disappointing. I'm so upset with you. Go to your own, like, blah, 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 blah. It's not bloody worth it. It's actually not worth it. It was an accident. And this is the thing. A lot of people say, but if it wasn't, I remember doing a reel. It's probably 18 months ago now. It went viral. It has about 3.9 million views. And it was when my son, so my other child, spilt some red Fanta on the couch. Don't know if you guys saw that. I've actually pinned it to my Instagram. At the top of my Instagram, if you have a look, you'll see the reel where I'm holding up the bottle, the empty bottle. And I got little clips of showing him how to take off the couch cushion, how to put in the washing machine, how to spray it, and blah, 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 hang it out. So I do not have these huge, like, draining, overwhelming emotional reactions anymore. That to me is small stuff. I want my kids to feel safe making mistakes and messing up and, like, damaging things. I'm sorry, but I don't want my kids to be like, oh my God, don't tell mum and dad, hide it, like, under your bed. Never tell them. I'm like, no, if you stuff up, if you make a mistake, like, I might be upset. I might be, you know, that's a really special painting. And I, like, it's actually still not hung up. I just realized. Still haven't hung it up, just because I got too many other things to do. But I actually don't care. I think there are so many more important things, mainly my relationship with my kids. So the last thing I want to mention in this kind of section, the first one, about things I no longer worry or stress about, is that I don't spiral with guilt when I make a mistake or I mess up and lose my cool as a parent. So on the small number of times that I do get really frustrated with my kids, it's actually, I already know it's nothing to do with them and their behavior. Absolutely 0%. Like, that could have happened. I'm pointing at the dog picture again. Peppa Pinto could have got some, gel pen on her face. On most days, I'm like, oh, come on, like put the pen in the bin. It's obviously exploded. Let's come and see if we can get this off. Like I respond, right? Thoughtfully, we problem solve. I tell them what to do next time, blah, blah, blah. But on it, on another day when I am stressed, I have so much on my plate, I have not had enough sleep, I haven't eaten lunch, fill in the blanks kind of thing. Then if I do lose my cool and I get really frustrated with my kids and I act in a way that I usually wouldn't and I regret, like you betcha, that night, obviously we talk about it, I apologize. I have no guilt. I'm not saying this from a place of like, oh, I never feel guilty and I'm amazing and perfect. It's not that at all. But I don't have what I used to have, which is like at the end of the day, I felt like this mum guilt of like, oh my God, why did I snap at my kid? He's 2 or he's 5 or like, I used to have that. I don't have that anymore, right? So, and really what that is about is that I understand that I'm human and have emotions, and emotional intelligence is not about being perfect. And I'm allowed to mess up, so I don't beat myself up about it. And yet I'm, in the same hand, I'm still learning about this stuff all the time. So I am getting better and better and better and better. Okay, number 2, second kind of, lesson that I'm distilling for you is around anxiety. Now, I'm not going to go into this in depth because I have done other episodes on this. There's going to be more to come, and I could go into this over a whole day. I have a course on my website. I think it's coming up actually because I'm re-recording the videos. So I had one on my old course website. Anyway, I'm getting a new one around supporting anxious and sensitive kids. So I do, like, this is a big part of me and my work is helping support kids and teens with anxiety. People will often ask me, because now I talk openly about it, particularly on if I am being interviewed on a podcast, for example, people will ask me, how did you overcome your anxiety? Like, what really worked? And da-da. In a nutshell, it I want to say started when I was in primary school. So I think is that middle school, when I was maybe about 10 or so. It's the first time I remember fainting because I was so nervous and anxious and scared. And that continued into my late 20s. And yeah, probably early 30s, late 20s, I want to say. The main thing that really helped me overcome it, to be honest, was not like I tried a therapist. I had sessions. To be honest, it didn't really help. What did was me learning about emotions through emotional intelligence, learning about anxiety itself, just learning about it. Understanding that is there for a reason and that is protective and that it's actually really primitive. Like, it's there to ensure our survival. And I learned about the nervous system, which is, again, a big part of my work in emotional intelligence. I have a course on understanding your child's and your own nervous system. Fight, flight, freeze, flop, shut down, like all those different states that we go into. Oh my God, that was a game changer when I was like, this is what's happening to me. This is what's happening when I'm fainting. Like, I go past the point of fight or flight, like there's this danger or this threat, past that into this is too overwhelming, too scary. I can't get out. I can't even fight or run away. And my body is going to go into shutdown, like taking you out of the situation, totally rendering you unconscious. In animals, it looks like playing dead. In humans, it's fainting or dissociating or falling asleep. I've had parents who I've coached say, I used to fall asleep and get really tired when I was getting yelled at as a kid. And there we go. Like, it's, again, so a huge game changer for me with my anxiety, learning about emotional intelligence. And now I remember fainting, at primary school on the stage of the little, assembly. Now I'll speak, I think the largest group I've spoken in front of is just over 1,000 people. So huge changes there. The third one is, these are some conflicts that I just don't have anymore. So my life is on the whole a lot more stress-free and a lot more free of conflict and disagreements and arguments. It doesn't mean that I just like lay down and take it, but it means I don't get into reactive arguments all the time, because I'm able to pause and be curious first. a huge part of this is like learning to replace blame with curiosity when conflicts arise. This could be in my relationship, this could be in my parenting, but genuinely getting out of the blame game and being curious as to what is happening, why that person said that, or why I'm reacting this way, and why these emotions are coming up. And that curiosity is just huge. Even buying yourselves just a few seconds, like 5 to 10 seconds, it sounds so tiny, but in the heat of the moment, it can be a lot. That buys you time to physiologically let your cortisol and adrenaline kind of settle and be absorbed by your cells, so it's not flooding through your system. It's literally called being flooded. And it allows time for your logical, rational brain to get back online, where you access that reason and that logic about what is happening, why that person might have said that thing, why they're seeing the situation in this way and you're seeing it in that way. Like, so much becomes available to you when you pause and are more curious, and you're thinking of other possible explanations for the situation, or what let's say it's another person, how they're treating you. Like, I can't express how huge that is when I learned to really bring that curiosity. So much became available to me, and I was like, oh, maybe it's this, like maybe it's that. Let me just think about it. Let me think of why I'm feeling like this. Oh, it's because of that old story that I always felt this when I was growing up, kind of thing. So a lot more curiosity, and it allows us to reframe the situation as well. You've got to be able to do this with your kids, because my God, are you going to take stuff personally if you just if you just, react, and they say, you're the worst parent, why aren't you letting me go to that party where there will be no parents and alcohol? And you're like, ugh! Like these are the moments, there's many more, where we can just start to reframe that person's behavior and, why they're acting in a certain way. So that's huge. I've also recognized when to pick my battles and just when to let things go. I think this is kind of a little bit intertwined with that perfectionism and the control as well, that I now no longer have, or that I've overcome, really helping me to recognize and see those moments where I don't want to die on this hill. I think that's something that Alex says a lot. My husband, he's been in a few episodes in the last kind of month or so. He is such a genius at this stuff. Like, he's just so wise sometimes. He's like, I don't want to die on this hill, or like I don't need to fight this battle with my kids or with that other person. I can just let this go and move on, and it doesn't have to say anything about me or my character or what kind of person I am. Like, he's really good at that. So I am learning from him. Okay. Fourth one is I see my kids through a completely different lens. So bit of a no-brainer if you've listened to some of these episodes, or if you follow me online. I see big emotions as opportunities for growth and connection, and to guide my kids and coach them, not to just punish them. I don't see those big emotions like anger or frustration and the behavior that goes with it, maybe the rudeness or the stubbornness. Like, I don't just go straight to punishment. It's so far from my brain now. And I'm actually realizing that I really don't ever, maybe once every few months do I really feel like punishing them, and that's just the old me coming up. But it is so few and far between that it reminds me this stuff works. When we learn emotional intelligence and we start to implement it, we actually see the differences. So seeing big emotions as opportunities, and definitely the opportunity to connect with your kids and help emotion coach them, basically, because that's what they bloody need, right? They don't need punishments. It makes things worse. We won't go into it, but we know that, right? The other thing is, I understand that all behavior makes sense. I love those 4 words. All behavior makes sense. Okay. It's communication. And to be honest, it's very often unintentional communication. It's not that our kids are communicating, I want you to spend time with me, so I'm going to sit here and bug you until you do. It's not happening at the conscious level. It's our kids are really having that need or they're struggling with something, and they're kind of mustering the best way that they can in that situation to communicate to us and show us basically what they need. It's just a lot of the time we miss it. So it's not defiance, it's communication. And to be honest, a lot of the time it's unintentional. It's not like they are out to kind of get some message across to us in the most annoying way. So all behavior makes sense. I love that. I also now see, this is a recent kind of revelation, I see the home as a laboratory. So what does that mean? It means that when our kids at home are having those challenging behaviors, or they're not cooperating, or they're like asking, why do I have to do something, like things like that, or they forget their manners, I see this as, okay, this is the home ground. This is the laboratory where you're supposed to be your complete messy selves, right? All our masks come off kind of thing. And this is where you're going to learn. This is where I'm going to teach you. This is where I'm going to remind you. This is where you're probably going to be argumentative with your sister or brother. And I can help you. We can problem solve and negotiate, and I can emotion coach. This is where that stuff is supposed to happen. Out in the real world, the quote unquote real world, in the classroom or the playground or just out at the skate park, or the shopping center, that's where, and we do see our kids acting differently. It's not going to be perfect, but we do see, I think all of us, this is another kind of realization and a lesson, I guess. All of us, me and you included, the minute you step out your front door, we put on just a certain level, a front or a mask, right? Maybe at home you're burping and farting and you're eating whatever you want, and you got food on your face. I'm not saying that we're slobs, but you know what I mean. We're a little bit less put together. We're a bit, no one is watching us, is my point. Imagine if they were, oh my God. So thank goodness there are no cameras in homes. But the point is, we all act a little bit differently out in the world. And so the home I see it's supposed to be a laboratory where your kids are learning and the growth is happening, right? Last thing I want to say there is, we are not striving for this good, compliant behavior. We don't want good behavior all the time. We don't want compliance. We don't want obedience. We don't want our kids to obey. And so we allow flexibility. We allow our kids to mess up. And, obviously we have boundaries, and we teach them when you can't do that, or it's not okay to say that, or you need to wait for this, or whatever. Our kids are not just ruling the roost, but we do not prize compliance over safety and true regulation and connection. Okay, I'm going to leave that one there. Last one, my husband's going to love this. I don't know if he's going to listen to this episode, but we'll see. Number 5, I see my husband in a completely different lens. I've actually written in my notes, number 5, seeing my husband as the amazing human he is. So he's going to love that. I don't know if he'll listen, but we'll see. So this is about recognizing and respecting emotional needs rather than reacting to differences in parenting styles, because we are still different. We are on the same page with emotional intelligence, but we still come from wildly different backgrounds. I have learned not to force emotional intelligence on him. I am grateful that he is open to it in the way that I share stuff with him or show him or send him a little message on WhatsApp kind of thing. He is open to that stuff. I think because I have approached it in such a forcing kind of way, a really flowing, easy, hey, I noticed this, or hey, I thought this was interesting, that kind of thing. So that's not he had not emotional intelligence growing up, if that makes sense. So it's not that, oh, he's this perfect unicorn, or he was already doing it. No, it wasn't a thing. So I've also learned definitely never to attack or undermine him in the heat of the moment if I disagree with something he has said or done. That's probably the worst thing, one of the worst things that I could do. I think I used to do it a lot. And so I probably, I'm sure I've apologized at some points here and there, but I probably need to more, because that's something that I, especially coming from a pediatric therapist background, knowing kids and how they tick and what makes it, things work and not, like, I would be like, no, don't do that. You're too harsh, or why'd you say that, or wrong. Like, I remember this kind of sense of like, I got to stop this because we have to be a team. Okay. It's not just like me and then everyone else is my little lemming. I always do my absolute best to find empathy during or after a disagreement. Not very good at it during, I will be honest about that, especially when I'm emotionally hijacked. If we're in a disagreement or an argument kind of thing, doesn't happen often, but when it happens, like, I have to wait until after, because I know once my emotions cool, then I will see the logic. Then I will see and really appreciate his point of view. During is very difficult. I think it is for the majority of us. He's really good at it, staying calm and everything, but sometimes I'm just like, rah! So if that resonates with you, see if you can muster some empathy and some curiosity as well as to why did my partner or that other person, why are they saying that? Where are they coming from? Is this a personal attack, or is it something they just believe in and we're just disagreeing and that's okay? Anyway, on the whole, this has really, really, really helped me not take things personally all the time, which, like, I don't know if this is something that you do, it was something I did, it would be so draining and just exhausting and stressful taking things personally from my kids or my husband, like, all the time. It was just too much. So the reduction in that has been absolutely massive. So there are probably, I know, way more lessons that I have learned and lots of information I've gathered over the years and skills and things like that. I just picked, a handful today to share in this episode. I think these are some of the key lessons that I've definitely learned, and I really hope that you guys are able to kind of take them away, even just one of them that really sunk in with you, and make that a focus, almost like for your next week. Put it in your phone as a little reminder or an alarm, or like stick it on a post-it note somewhere. So whatever it is, let me know. I would absolutely love to know how you go. I know it takes time, but I think these are just some of the like little nuggets that can fast track your emotional intelligence as a person or as a partner or as a parent. People across the world are loving emotional intelligence. I'm super excited about that. I have noticed there are so many more people who are on my Instagram, who are commenting, who are asking questions. There are so many people in my Facebook group as well in that community, and there's lots of listeners here to the podcast. So I'm very grateful. But it has meant that I've wanted to basically distill all the stuff that I've learned that we've talked about today into courses that are so much, quicker and easier for people to consume than listening to, podcasts hours on ends, reading books, which takes time, even watching YouTube videos. There's so much out there. Sometimes it can be almost overwhelming, right? So I want to say, if you've never taken a course before, you are probably thinking, will this actually work for me though? Is it too generic, or will I even have time for it? And I totally get that, because life is bloody busy. And I know that often a one-size-fits-all solution does not really fit for everyone. So I'm totally with you there. Here is the thing, that my courses are designed to feel practical. They're designed to be personal and approachable, even if you're juggling 100 things. So I've made it all about being really easy for busy parents, easy for busy partners, or just adults alone to learn emotional intelligence skills without having to spend years figuring it out or feeling overwhelmed by endless information, because there's so much out there. So with these courses, you'll literally walk away with specific actionable strategies. You can use them immediately. You can feel real change in your home and in your relationships. And to be honest, I've received a lot of messages where people say, actually, my husband or my wife noticed this, or my kids have said, Mum, this is different, or it feels nicer, or like you're not yelling as much. And I'm like, yay! Like, I have a little party when I get those messages. So I've designed every single course for parents like you who want real strategies that work, but they don't really want to spend endless time. They don't have endless time. because there's too much research and there's too much trial and error. So I've kind of taken that all away. You can learn at your own pace as well. You can apply what works for you and your family, and you can start seeing results without feeling like it's another thing on your to-do list. So there is my little plug, I guess, for the courses that I've created on emotional intelligence. They're all on my website at stephaniepinto.com/courses, and I will put the link in the show notes if you want to go and check them out. There's about 6 or 7, I think, at the moment, and they're all on different topics, different aspects of emotional intelligence. So please go along and head there. Check them out. Let me know what you think. And I would love to remind you, actually, a couple of them right now are on sale. So go in, see what you think. And I will see you guys probably the same time next week in the same place for another episode. I'm trying my best this year to record 1 or maybe 2 every week. So nice little fun conversations that are insightful and uplifting and obviously educational as well. I want to make things really easy for you in 2025. So thank you for being here. Have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you guys very soon.